Hey everyone, it's Cory McCarthy and thank you for tuning in. This video is going to be a rant. It won't be politically correct and it's likely to trigger some people, but it has to be said. So if you are easily offended or you're happily blue-pilled, then you will want to click away now. You've been warned. This rant was ignited by an article that I read recently on MSN News via the publication People. It was reported that a Swedish zoo has admitted to euthanizing 9 healthy young lions since 2013, labeling them a surplus and referring to this calling as population management. Apparently, only 2 out of the 13 lion cubs from 3 different litters have survived in the last 5 years at this zoo. Or should I say, been allowed to survive, as the zoo seals their fate for them. For me, it isn't just the fact that I despise zoos or that the killing of such majestic creatures is absolutely despicable, but referring to the lions as a surplus when Sweden has an actual surplus of migrants from the Middle East and Africa is absolutely laughable. And that joke should not be lost on anyone who is awake to the situation that has been infecting Europe for years now. According to data from the Swedish Migration Agency, as of 2015, Sweden alone has accepted 163,000 migrants from the Middle East, 31% of those being from Syria. As of 2016, the total number of immigrants from Africa or the Middle East more than tripled, reaching 546,233, which was 31% of the total immigrant population that year. This data was extracted from Statistics Sweden on February 21, 2017. Sweden has had to recently raise the national retirement age, and this was done in order to combat the cost of the large refugee reception in the last year alone, and the expectation of welfare needs to climb significantly faster than tax revenues can currently handle. If that's not a sign of a real surplus that is negatively impacting the quality of life for Swedes, then I don't know what is. Yet, against all logic, Sweden has kept letting them in. Taxpayers be damned. And wouldn't you know it, only about 0.3% of those migrants have actually found jobs. That figure is according to the Swedish Employment Agency and the Swedish Migration Authority. In other words, only 1/3 of 1% of total refugees have secured work and are therefore paying taxes. The vast majority are consuming without giving back. What I like to call welfare vampires. How long do you think that trend's gonna last before Sweden ends up drowning in serious debt? Much more than fucking over your aging citizens by raising retirement age is going to fix. So much for the Scandinavian socialist utopia model that the left loves to name drop. But it's not just the negative financial impact. According to a Swedish crime survey published by the National Council on Crime Prevention, 14% of young women report that they have been subjected to at least one sexual offense in 2016. That number being up from a steady 1% from 2005 to 2012, which spiked in 2013 and spiked again in 2015 and again in 2016. And the spikes occurred around the time when rising numbers of migrants started flooding into the European Union from Muslim-majority countries. Now, I will admit that's just correlation, but it aligns with the numerous accounts of horrific sexual violence perpetrated by Muslim refugees across Europe in the recent years, like, but not limited to, a 17-year-old Danish girl who was sexually assaulted near a migrant asylum center, yet she was prosecuted after using pepper spray to fend off her attacker. Or the case of a 10-year-old boy in Austria who was raped by a 20-year-old Iraqi refugee who claimed that he was suffering from a sexual emergency. That case was later overturned, by the way. Apparently, the Austrian judges thought the man may have believed that the boy consented to the act. Yes, the judges actually believed that a 10-year-old boy was capable of providing appropriate consent for sex. What do they call this fantasy land that those judges inhabit? Oh, that's right, politically correct Europe. How about the case of a 23-year-old German girl who was raped at knife point by a Ghanaian refugee at her campsite in front of her boyfriend back in April 2017? Or the case where 3 Afghan men gang raped a Swedish girl and streamed it live on Facebook in 2017? Or the case where 4 Afghan refugees repeatedly gang raped a 16-year-old girl in an apartment above a restaurant in Kent, England? Or how about the case where a Congolese national, a Nigerian, and 2 Moroccan brothers gang raped a Polish tourist in front of her robbed and beaten boyfriend on an Italian beach? The same beach where a 17-year-old British girl was raped the year before. Or the case of a disabled, wheelchair-bound woman being gang raped in a bathroom by 6 migrants in Sweden. And how could we forget that time in Cologne, Germany, where as many as 1,000 women were sexually assaulted on New Year's Eve in 2015 by perpetrators primarily of North African or Arab descent? And I could go on, but I think you get the point. And those cases barely scratch the surface of what's out there. My point is, Sweden arguably has a migrant surplus, and with it, a very real problem. One that is taking an actual toll on the safety, finances, and quality of life of tax-paying Swedes, making it hard to even use public transportation in the fucking capital city due to migrant gang criminality, which started in 2012 and more than doubled by 2013. Hell, as of early 2017, police in Malmö were so completely overwhelmed by serious violent crimes such as attempted murders, beatings, rapes, and other offenses that they actually pleaded for help from ordinary citizens. So my point is, there is a real surplus situation causing actual fucking harm in Sweden. But some Swedes have decided that healthy young lions are the real surplus that needs tending to, and have been killing them off since around the time the migrants started coming in. Now, I am by no means suggesting or implying that they kill off migrants like they're doing to these lions. I do not advocate violence unless violence is absolutely necessary. Like in self-defense. And even then, the level of counter-violence should match the level of the threat. And I've emphasized this stance before. I feel the need to say this since virtue-signaling retards have consistently displayed a fucking tendency of putting words in my mouth, taking me out of context, and or twisting my words around. Rather, this video was meant as a vehicle to, 1, call out blatant hypocrisy, one that ethical vegans should be aware of and pissed off by. And 2, wake more people up to the real problem that is occurring in Sweden and across Europe. A lot of people seem to be genuinely unaware of what's happening out there, especially folks here in America. And this is not even getting into the racial and cultural replacement of European peoples in their own homelands. Anyway, let me all know what you think in the comments below about this topic. I'd definitely love to hear Marcus's thoughts on the matter, especially being a Swede with a growing social media presence. Many of you may know him as the Golden One. If you enjoyed this video and support this message herein, definitely hit like and share it. This will help it find viewers. Also, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to ensure you don't miss any updates from me. With that, I want to thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.